Hello and welcome to the day ahead. It's Thursday, August the 14th. I'm Andrew Gagan. Well, the local share market is set to open strongly, with ASX futures up around 0.3%. Global equity markets rose to new record highs overnight for the second straight session, with bullish sentiment on Wall Street pushing all major indices higher as investors position for an interest rate cut from the US Federal Reserve. The S&P 500 and Nasdaq closing at records for the second straight session, the small cap Russell 2000 index hitting a 6-month high. Among the Mag 7 stocks, Nvidia, Alphabet and Microsoft fell as investors searched for new growth drivers. However, Apple rose on reports the company is working on expanding into AI-powered robots, home security and smart displays. CoreWeave, which is backed by Nvidia, fell heavily after the AI data center operator reported a bigger than expected quarterly net loss. Paramount Skydance surged after winning exclusive broadcasting rights to the UFC for 7 years. And healthcare stocks led gains among the S&P 500 sectors. Meanwhile, global equity funds, excluding the US, received their biggest inflows in more than 4.5 years in July, as investors redirected capital away from the US on concerns over the economy, stretched stock valuations, and a weakening dollar. Around $13.5 billion was redirected into ex-US funds, while US-focused equity funds saw around $6.5 billion in outflows. Well, the likelihood of a US rate cut in September is now seen as a near certainty following the moderate US inflation data, with traders pricing at a 99.9% chance of a 25 basis point cut, according to CME's FedWatch tool. This comes as US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent advocates significant Fed easing, saying, "I think we could go into a series of rate cuts here, starting with a 50 basis point rate cut in September. If you look at any model, it suggests that we should probably be 150, 175 basis points lower." And President Trump has indicated he's close to nominating a replacement for Fed Chair Jerome Powell, saying, "I think I'll name it a little bit early. New chairman, I'm down to 3 or 4 names." Meanwhile, President Trump has threatened severe consequences if Russian President Vladimir Putin does not agree to peace in Ukraine ahead of their meeting on Friday, but he didn't reveal what those consequences would be. US Treasury yields have fallen on the prospects of interest rate cuts in September. The yield on the 2-year down to 3.68%, and the 10-year was at 4.24%. The US dollar slipping for a second straight session, and the Aussie has risen to 65.4 US cents. And risk-on sentiment has seen Bitcoin flirt with new record highs at 123,000 US dollars. Oil prices have fallen to a more than 2-month low on bearish supply guidance from the US government and the International Energy Agency. Brent crude futures at $65 a barrel. Copper's down more than 0.5%. Iron ore falling almost 1% to $103 US dollars a tonne. And gold has been lifted by a weaker dollar and falling treasury yields. It's at $3,355 an ounce. Locally today, we get jobs data for July. Among the companies reporting results today, the ASX, Telstra, Origin Energy, Suncorp, Temple & Webster, Abboud Storage King and Pro Medicus. That is your day ahead. See you again tomorrow.